Your love is rated X. That means you're extra, extra, extraordinary.
Друзья, всем привет! С вами я, Софья Скай, и наша программа Actress Talk. Сегодня у нас в гостях будет самая моя долгожданная гостья Лиса Милилло, которая была педагогом актерского мастерства для меня в Лос-Анджелесе. А также Лиса Милилло 15 лет была продюсером крутого вокера и является одним из ведущих актерских коучеров в Лос-Анджелесе в студии Джем Бэрон. Друзья, наш эфир будет проходить на английском языке, и предупреждаю о том, что те вопросы, которые вы будете задавать нам во время эфира, я не смогу озвучивать. Надеюсь, что все будет хорошо. Я вижу, что Лиса присоединилась. Сейчас мы перейдем на английский язык. И напоминаю о том, что наш эфир будет переведен на русский язык и выложен в YouTube, а также на моем IGTV. Итак, Лиса. Очень... Yes! Yes, thank God. How are you? I'm so happy to see you. Thank you that you found time to have our chat together. How are you?
I'm trying to figure this out since I was going to try it on my computer. I am wonderful.
Well, it's better not to turn it this way because I'm not going to... Yes. No, it's not.
Okay, hold on. Let me figure this out. 1 second.
How I miss this place. I remember this place so well. It's like my second home.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure this out. Okay, wait. There we go.
Yes, so, hello, dear. Tell me, how are you? It's been such a long time since we've talked.
I miss you so.
Yes, me too.
My daughter.
Hopefully soon we're going to be able to travel again. I know it's so hard that such a long time I haven't been to Los Angeles.
This crazy pandemic. One day soon it will be over.
Tell me, how was it for you, Liz? How was the quarantine?
I've never been busier in my entire life. It's crazy. You know, I think when the world stopped, people felt a need to continue to do their art because art saves people and art is still an expression. And when we're locked in our rooms and unable to do anything, that is the one thing that remains true. So I am teaching so many classes, brand new classes, all on Zoom. And I have to tell you, having the Zoom, we were in the classroom and we brought it to Zoom. It's been a kind of a blessing because people have to learn how to work for camera. And oftentimes I will give someone a note and they'll go, oh yeah, I get that. But now I play it back for them and they're looking at it going, oh, wow, I had no idea I was doing that. When you said I was doing such and such, I had no idea, but now they can see it. And now they have to use the frame and now they have to act for camera. And it's a very different thing. And I think it's an opportunity that they would have never had. So they had a little bit best of both worlds. They did it live and then we brought them to Zoom. So
Liz, tell me, what exactly can you teach through Zoom?
Everything. There's nothing I can't teach through Zoom.
Really, and also if people are together, the repetition technique, how is it working? It's very interesting because I had no idea. How is it possible without actually seeing each other?
Yes, you would think that, right? You would think, how is it possible? And it's the beauty of really answering and listening and putting your attention on the other person as we're doing right now. So we can do a repetition exercise, we can do a scene. I have seen some of the most exquisite work I've ever seen in my career on Zoom.
Do you think it's because people are comfortable in their own places?
Yes.
Is that, yes.
I think people are definitely more comfortable in their space and they're willing to reveal themselves a little bit more being in their space. And there is a sort of there's a way that they're allowing themselves to be vulnerable because they're in their space. And it's exquisite, it's beautiful, it's remarkable. And
Yeah, it means that, you know, the half work for us, for actors, is to get rid of the nerve when you're in the room. That's what we're talking about on our audition study class. And now when we have Zoom, so it's much easier. Exactly. But do you think when the pandemic is over and everyone is going to get back to classes, is it going to be a big change for actors, or it's going to be normal?
You know, I vote to do half and half, to be honest. There's such good learning, and there's so many great things about Zoom that I think it should be half and half, to be honest. There is something about going in and auditioning and having to deal with the nerves, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the audition process, because I think it's important. I think live audition process is important, starting from how one enters the space. There's so many things to be distracted. I mean, I've had actors say, oh, I signed in and I saw whose name was before me. That person was famous, and what am I doing competing with them? And they've already psychically screwed themselves. So check, you know, that's one thing. People talk to you, other actors, and they distract you so you can't concentrate. I always say wear earbuds, and it just simply says, I'm not available to chat. And then I say, art is big, you are small. You are simply there to service the story. And if you're in the waiting room and you're saying to yourself, I need to get something, and that need is the need in the scene, your objective. How am I going to do that? Let that be the thing that I'm thinking about, as opposed to who's in the room, what are they going to think of me, all of that. And then remember to go in, and I think this is such a huge, if I could give this piece of information, I think it's the most important one, which is think of it as giving the gift of your talent. When you walk in a room, you give them the gift of your talent, and what they do with it is none of your business. When you give a present to someone, you don't go, do you like it? Are you going to re-gift it? What are you going to do with the gift? You just simply give it, and you give it with love, and you hand it away, and that's it. You can't know. There's a million reasons why you will get cast or you won't get cast, and sometimes, and oftentimes, it has nothing to do with your talent. So you need to know that if you have gone in and executed your plan, because A, you're relaxed enough to do it, B, you have the training, so you know what it is you're set, what the goals are, and what you're trying to hit in that audition. If you do those things, it's a win, whether you get the role or not. And I always say your job is just to make fans in the room. Don't worry about getting the job. You'll never know why I produced over 250 episodes of television. I saw anywhere from 40 actors a week for 10 years in a casting session. And I will tell you, there were many times we did not cast the most talented person in the room for various reasons. And they might have left the room thinking, wow, I didn't do a good job, when indeed they were the best one in the room. Unfortunately, they look too similar to the lead. Unfortunately, blah, 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 blah. Millions of different reasons. So all you have control of as an actor is your work. And so you set the goal, you know what you set out to do in that audition, and if you hit it, it's a win.
Tell me about the self-taping, Lisa. Now, in this time, it's such an often thing to do self-tape. And what do you do if there is nobody who can read with you? Do you play with air? Or do you see yourself, like we see ourselves right now? Or what's the better way to do it?
Well, ideally, I don't care who it is. Pull man off the street. Excuse me, sir, you're walking the mailbox. Come here, read some lines. It's hard, very hard not to have a person that you're speaking to. I think it's very difficult. But I have had some of my actors who said, I got a self-tape audition. I had no time. I had no one to read it with me. So they put the lines on tape, and they know what the response is that they want to have, and they just do it with their own voice back to themselves. I don't think that's ideal, obviously. That's the harder way to go. But it can be done, and I've seen some really good work. But obviously, in a perfect world, having someone to work off of, even if it's just, you know, a non-actor, but somebody who's there that you can look at and who's saying the lines, and hopefully you have your responses already set, but at least it's a live person. I think that's helpful.
Yes, it is very important to have somebody in person because you react on the eyes and
Right.
everything.
Look at them and, you know, connect to something. Yeah.
How is it in Los Angeles right now? Like, do people go on audition physically, or it is still shut down, kind of? How is it?
You know, everything is, production is starting to pick up. I have a student who recently booked a huge job. It's his breakout role, I think, with Bryan Cranston in a new, in a new series called Your Honor. And it was a coveted role. Many of the big, huge teenage boys who were represented by all the big agencies were up for that job. And they were saying, how did this kid, who's essentially a nobody, get this role? Because every major person was up for the role. And I said, you know how he got it? A lot of hard work and a lot of talent.
Did you guys rehearse together? I'm so excited.
We rehearsed like crazy. And in fact, we rehearsed like crazy. And then he said to me, I'm going in and I'm meeting with them. And I want you to throw me. I want you to just throw things at me, and just so I'm prepared for anything that happens in the room. And I said, fantastic, let's do it. So he came in.
That's what I like to do, is throw things at people.
Well, yes, because you never know what happens in a room. And so, you know, there was a very intimate scene, and it says, you know, he's seated by the, you know, whatever, you know, graveyard, or I don't remember what it was, but, and it was a very intimate scene. I said, fantastic. So why don't we start standing? You know, I was just throwing him. So there were 3 or 4 scenes, and we started the session, and I said, let's start with scene 3. So I know it says you're sitting. How about you stand? How about we go to 1? And it says you're standing. We like sit down. And you know, it says this, but why don't you do that? And I was just throwing him just a million things.
Amazing.
And he said, I feel so prepared. And he said, I walked into the session, and the first thing they said to me is, why don't we just start with scene 3? Why don't you do it standing? And he said, I was jumping for joy, because he said, I was so prepared. They could have asked me to do it standing on my head, and I would. So he killed it. He killed it. And he said nothing threw him. He was prepared. He was ready to go. Boom, boom, boom. And obviously he booked the job. So.
Well, I remember that how we rehearsed together that scene when I was supposed to play a Russian model or European model who came, and we tried to find my drunk. That was so interesting, and how we did it. I can't forget that, you know, how we rehearsed. You really are amazing on the way to, you know, mix and try. It's just so great.
You know, doing something in your head or practicing something when you're actually on set, it's so different. And there's so many other elements, and there's so many other people around you. And so it's not like, everybody, please be quiet. My actress needs to prepare. You know, I say to people, go into a really loud Starbucks and do your preparation, and see if you can prepare with 1 million people speaking, because that's what the reality is of being on a set. Nobody's going to be quiet for you, and nobody's waiting for you to have your emotional preparation. You've got to come on and just bring it. And you have to practice a drunk impediment, which you did do beautifully, I might add. And, you know, you have to know, what are the elements of that? What's the emotional line? What kind of drunk are you? Are you a happy drunk? Are you a sad drunk? Are you a mean drunk? Are you a horny drunk? Are you, what kind of drunk are you? Sentimental drunk? And then you have to practice the slurred speech. And then you have to practice the physicality, the motor skill. Are you loosey-goosey? So there's all of those elements. And you have to practice them individually and then put them together to make the drunk. And then you have to practice it within the scene. And as you know, because we've worked together for a long time, I love taking the words and then making them our own. We go in and we improvise the scene. I like you to have your thought before you say your line, which leads you to an action so that you're clear that you're really doing something. I mean, I think that people don't understand this, that every moment in acting is doing. People think it's feeling. People say, oh, if I could only cry like that. And I say, yeah, too bad, because crying has nothing to do with it. It's icing on the cake. But are you really doing what you say you're doing? Are you really doing an action? Are you really pleading? Are you really? So acting is doing. And in every moment of a performance, you must know what it is you're doing. You must know what you want.
How about feelings, though?
And you must know how you feel, of course. You must know what the circumstance is. So we start with, what is the circumstance? What just happened right before the scene? Where am I coming from? How do I feel at the top of this scene? What do I want? Who do I want it from? What's my relationship? Because everything is colored through the lens of the relationship. And then what's the event in the scene? What happens? There is an event in every scene. And when it's done well, it looks so effortless. It seems like anybody can do it because it looks so easy. And that's when acting is great. That's when it's flawless, when it looks effortless. When I see you working and trying to do things and acting up a storm, then you go, ooh, you know. Now,
What do we do if we don't know the project? Like, for example, I'm trying to go back to the audition thing. What do we do when we don't know the material? When we don't know who is the director? What are they looking for? Like, how do we create that story for yourself and go for risk if there is no information?
Well, if there's no information, I mean, obviously the first thing that you have to look at when you get the material is, what is this material? Because every genre is different. And so you ask yourself, is this single cam? If we're talking in television, for example, is this a single cam? Is this a 3-cam camera comedy? Now, why is that important? Because 3-camera comedy, for example, has many rules. It's not like any other genre. It has very specific rules. There's a certain amount of jokes per page. There's certain opposites, what we call an opposite or a turn. And there's commonly everything is in 3s. The characters are usually opposite. You're either setting up the joke or you're landing the joke. You have to know who you are in that. Am I setting up the joke? Is it a setup joke? Is it a setup joke, double joke? You know, it's a formula. And if you don't know the formula, for example, you're not even in the game. So very recently I worked with an actor who's a very successful actor, and he had a three-camera show, and he was doing it beautifully. And I said, that's such a beautiful drama. I said, you're in the wrong genre. What are you doing? So you have to, when you get material, know what it is. Single cam, 3-cam, or sometimes they call it multicam. Is it daytime television? Is it nighttime television? Is it feature film? Is it a rom-com? Is it a horror film? I mean, you want to know what the genre is and what the feel, what the tone is. So you know, you want to evaluate that and figure that out, because that's important to know. And then I always say, read it and let it hit you. How does this strike you? You know, and every single scene, whether it be, you know, farce or whatever it is, always starts with a circumstance. You always have to ask yourself those questions. What is my circumstance? How do I feel in this world? And what do I want in this world? And then you start to build based on the information you have, based on the genre of the show and the tone. And if you can, you might even look up the casting directors, because sometimes certain casting directors, like this casting director does nothing but comedies. And you'll say, oh, I don't know what it was, but I looked them up and everything they've ever done is comedy. So it's probably a comedy, even though I can't tell, or something, you know.
So there's always information, just need to really look for it. You always need to look for any information because everything will be very helpful, right? But how about the character? That was my question. I remember many years ago, and I'm still gonna ask that. How do you find the character if you don't know what they're looking for? It's the risk. You know, you need to create that character for yourself. But sometimes actors saying that they can be this, they can be that, they can be this at the same time, but they need to choose. And that choice is actually a difficult thing because you don't know, like maybe they need this or that, and then you start to be confused.
Well, you see, you know, again, you want to look to see how, you know, how does this service the story? How does this character service the story? Did you fade out for a second, or was that me?
No.
Oh, okay. So how does the character service the story? That's an important question, because if you understand what your role is within the scene, then that helps you. If it's comedy and if it's a multicam, oftentimes I say if you can't figure out who you are, if you can figure out who the other guy is, you're generally the opposite of that. And then, you know, if you're somebody's wife, somebody's mother, somebody's, you know, what's the relationship? That might help you. And then you ask yourself a series of questions that might illuminate. If you have more than one scene, I say, go look at the other scenes. Go see if any of the other characters talk about your character and give some kind of hint as to who you are. Mm-hmm. But of course, understanding who the character is, along with all those questions that you ask as you pick up every piece of material.
And also they cast you, so you need to understand that if they chose you to go for casting, you look specific way, and you know they yes, so you've done specific work.
And the other thing that I want to emphasize is that it is you as that character that they are casting. So remember to bring your essence to the role, because it is you that they are buying, you as that character. So a lot of times people leave their essence, as I like to say, at home. And I say, no, 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 that's what they're buying. They're buying you as that character. So bring it. Bring all of your essence to the
Lise,
that's what differentiates you from somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Here in Russia, I have this question from many people. For example, they say, if we see something in the movie and it's the actor's choice, as I know, like for example, Leonardo DiCaprio chose to, you know, squeeze the Pepsi Cola in the beginning of the scene. So here we have this saying that directors are responsible for this. How is it in Los Angeles, and what do you think about that? Is the director responsible for the gestures that actors are doing, or it's specifically actors' job to find their little tricks?
Well, you know, I don't leave it up to the directors. They're busy doing a lot of different things. And so, of course, as an actor, we want to think that we're the center of their universe. And ultimately, a performance is based on so many things. But I wouldn't suggest to someone that they rely on the director to give them anything.
So it's like, for example, in the movie, actors does something really amazing, like Meryl Streep with her eyebrow when she lied. And here in Russia, they would say it's director said her to do this. It's not her, you know. So, and I'm saying no, it's actor's job.
Yes, actor's job. I mean, something that I like to talk about, and very very true in an audition also, is to have a psychological gesture. A psychological gesture is something that lets us in on who this character is. So for example, if I'm a very uptight person, before I begin my audition, as I sit into the scene, for example, I might do my collar, you know, I might straighten my collar out. If I'm about to cheat on my husband, I might play with my wedding ring. If I'm indicating that I'm wealthy, I might play with my diamond earring. You know, just a little psychological. And, you know, oftentimes I hear people say, I don't know, they were just it. But that's not true. They're not just it. They bring it to the role, and that's why they are it. And they make a psychological gesture that immediately tells us who they are, and we say to ourselves, wow, they're really that person, when indeed they've chosen that. And you know, you look at a film, for example, where somebody's taken the tomato out of the hamburger that they're doing, so that they're eating. That's a little choice that they make. You know, these are, you know, to play with the eyebrow, to you know, twist the ring, if you will. All of those things. Hopefully, the actor has come up with that. Now, sometimes the director will nix it and say, "I don't like that." But generally speaking, I think the actor comes up with these ideas, and a director may or may not, or say, "Oh, I love that. Do more of that," or "I don't like that. Do less of that." But I don't think that they generally give it to you. That has not been my experience. Let's put it that way.
Yes, that's right. Liz, tell me about the projects that are casting right now in Los Angeles.
Well,
Is there a difference between what was before the pandemic and right now, even in the interest?
I don't really know about new. I know everybody's starting back up. All the shows, all the television shows are all, if they're not in, you know, if they're starting production, they're already 2 weeks in. I know that, you know, they have all these very specific pods, and actors, often, I just was working with an actress yesterday. She's in Canada and she's been quarantined for 14 days before. So oftentimes they'll quarantine you. If you work on a show, they'll quarantine you for X amount of days. You get the, you know, you get the test every day if you're, or every other day if you're acting and you're a lead in the film. Everybody has their own, you know, you can't hang around on a set anymore. You know, you do your job, you go back to your trailer. The actors stay within themselves. The crew stays within themselves. You know, everybody has their own little pods, if you will, and they're doing their darndest to keep it safe.
Yes, and probably it's twice longer for the production as well, because it takes time. And how about the Baron Brown studio? Do you guys going in? Do you work inside the room or still not? Zoom.
I don't think we're going to go back anytime soon, to be honest, because those rooms are small, and you know, they're packed, and there's no ventilation, and so and because Zoom is working so well, honestly, even when we do go back, I've already said, hey, I'm all for half and half.
So does it mean that I can enter your Zoom class?
Yes.
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 Oh my gosh. The only reason I didn't continue to...
Now, you could be in my scene study. You could be in my audition class right now.
How do you guys do scene study through Zoom? That's amazing. Like, how do you... How is it possible?
It's possible. It's crazy. And as I said to you, not only is it, and people, you know, you have backgrounds, you know, we taught style scenes and nursery rhymes, which is something that we do in the 2-year training. And people have these beautiful backgrounds. I mean, I had my actor doing Hamlet with this beautiful backdrop that you can get on Zoom. So there's a big castle behind him, and you know, the importance of being earnest in the garden. I mean, you know, it was just beautiful.
And a makeup as well. Now it's possible to do, no?
It was just exquisite, because I thought, wow, I am literally taken into this world with this background and these actors who are doing such a brilliant job, and you would never not know that they're not in the same room. You know, here's a Kleenex, and then the other person takes it from the other side. I mean, it's yes, they kiss.
And not that even movies are possible to be shot like that. A few people shot movies in here.
They're doing a lot of casting on Zoom, tons of casting on Zoom. A lot of my actors were so happy that they had been working on Zoom, because they said when I got a Zoom audition, my one actor said that the casting person said to him, thank you for being so, because she didn't know exactly. And he was like, no, let me help you here. And he, came on and knew exactly how to do it. He said, I felt totally free. It was like just being in class, and I just did it. And they were thrilled. And he, of course, got the job because he really knew how to work the Zoom. And
Yeah, so people became more nice and open to each other because we're all in the same situation.
exactly.
You can say that.
Exactly. And there's a freedom there. And it's incredible how scenes can be done over Zoom. Even
I am so excited. You have no idea. I'm going to call you right after that live, and I'm going to sign in for your classes.
Yay!
So exciting. Oh, the only problem is the time difference, because probably you were working.
Yeah, but it's so funny you say that, because I have to tell you, currently I have a guy from Monaco, Germany, Mexico, Canada. I mean, I have people from all over the world, and yeah, I'm sure I don't know what time it is for them, but they're there and they're doing it. So Australia, I have somebody from Australia. So, she's saying, well, it's 2 a.m. and I'm, we're all, I'm headed for bed and we're just here in Los Angeles having breakfast, but she makes it work.
Yes, this is really, really amazing that Zoom is making our world even smaller. And hopefully that the self-taping will help us, people who are from another country, to go and audition for Los Angeles. So I kind of can get back just like that, even though the traveling is not possible right now.
Well, I mean, I know that you're working on your studio there. I mean, that would be such a great service to be the reader. You be the reader for, or not even you necessarily, but your team, to be the reader for everybody's self-tape, because that's important.
Yes, and I talked to Lucy Lennox, and she's also doing this. She's a casting director from Barcelona, and she also does Zoom a lot. And yeah, so they're starting these classes of self-taping as well. And I was invited to talk about how to do it with, with another person. And yes, it's very, very interesting. The world is changing so interesting right in front of us.
I mean, who would have ever thought that? And as I said, the silver lining is that I don't think actors have ever had more access to everything as we do today. You can make your own movies. You can write and produce your own material. You can, I mean, the list goes on and on. You can audition, self-tape, send it in. You can be in another country working on Zoom. I mean, it's endless. So the opportunities are there, and we must look at this as a little bit of a silver lining, as far as I'm concerned. And the opportunities, there's so many opportunities right now. People are, casting people are seeing you. People whose rooms you would never be able to get into, you can now get into. And it's just, there's such a advantage if you look at it as an opportunity. And I know people get depressed, and I know it's hard to be in your home, but as far as I'm concerned, this is the time, because I always say, will you be ready? This will be over. And will you be ready when the opportunities come? They will come. And that's the question. So you have to work that artistic muscle. You have to be in shape. You have to use this time as a plus to really, I say to people, how many times has an actor said to me, if only I didn't have to work my straight job, if only I could dedicate all my time to acting. And I've turned to those people and I said, it's now.
Mm-hmm.
When the world is closed, you said, what would I look like if I could really dedicate all that time to my craft? And I said, it's here. Go. Really allow yourself to take off. So,
what would you recommend to those actors who just in the beginning, what to start from, where to go, how to find your Zoom, how to find the classes, how to find casting directors, what to do? Like, sometimes people are just saying, like, I want to be an actor and I studied for 2 years, and then what? Where do I go? And in this time it's even harder because the theaters are closed as well. Is it research in the internet or what?
Yes, I think, first of all, we talk about auditioning, and we've spoken a lot about that today, but here's the bottom line. You have no business auditioning if you don't know how to act. And, right? I mean, here's the thing. people will come and they'll take my audition class, and very quickly they'll drop out. And hopefully they drop out, or I will have a conversation asking them to drop out, because they don't know what they're doing. And I will say to them, this class, this audition class, I don't teach you how to act in an audition class. I expect that you know how to act, and that what you're doing is you're honing your skills. But this is not a fundamentals class. This is an I already know how to act class. And now I'm learning my different genres, I'm practicing that skill, and so forth. But oftentimes people feel like, oh, I'm just gonna try. Well, that's idiotic as far as I'm concerned. That's like me saying I'm gonna put on some ballet shoes. I'm gonna just leap across the stage and hope for something. It's crazy. And nobody in their right mind ever says, wow, I'm gonna look at basketball and say, fantastic, I've always wanted to be a player. I'm just gonna put on some running shoes. I'm gonna, get out there. Everybody goes, ha, ha, ha. You're not gonna ski down the mountain. You're not gonna be on there. You're not gonna get on the stage and do ballet. But everybody and their mother thinks they can act. You see, because it looks so easy. Yeah. When it's done well, it looks so effortless, disguised virtuosity. And so everybody thinks that they should just take a shot at it. But usually those people who really have careers that have longevity, have training under their belts, understand that this is a craft that takes enormous skill and a lot of hard work. I love what Will Smith says. He says, I'm not the best actor, I'm just the hardest working guy in the room. Amazing. And that's what yes. And that's what it takes. It takes having a craft and understanding what it is you're doing and what you're seeking, and how, you must know who you are and what buttons to push in order to get the things that you need to reveal what the scene needs. So I always say to people, don't jump into an audition class, learn to act first. And then, we ask you to live truthfully under imaginary circumstances. But the audition process is very surreal. It's not like anything you've learned. It's a very different muscle. So if you
what would you recommend to those who have no agents, for example? They finished acting classes, they're really good at audition study classes, and then what's the way next for people who have no idea?
I think the next thing to do is trying to put some kind of reel together, because in this day and age, every agent / casting director will say, oh, I'd love to send me your reel, send me your material. So I would say the next step is, and it doesn't have to be a lot, send them an audition piece. Say I was up for an audition and this is what I look like. This is this is me currently. This is my acting. It doesn't have to be, a big production, but it should be something that shows who you are and your talent. And if you could have a comedy and a drama, that would be ideal, so that they see your range. But I think the next step is getting material, so that casting, agents, etc. Even when an agent loves you, they say, how do I get you to the casting people if you have no credits? So you need to have a little tape on yourself, some kind of tape. That would be the first step, I would say. And then start to research. There's a lot of casting workshops here in Los Angeles. And I had somebody recently take one where they get to spend a half an hour with the casting director, and they give them material and they work for them, and then they have a one-on-one with them, and they actually start to get to know them. So working with casting directors who, if they like you, will also refer you and say, so-and-so and so-and-so, these are good agencies to start with. And then you can say, listen, I just worked with blah, blah, and he recommended you, and they may take a shot at you. But I would say next step, get some material together, start looking at casting workshops. There's also agent workshops. So I usually say, though, if you have an ability in these agent workshops, to get the material ahead of time, because sometimes they can hurt you more than they can help you. So you'll go into one of these places and they'll give you material, and it's not something that will allow you to shine in any way. So there are those where you get to choose your own material, or they give you a list of material and you get to pick one, as opposed to, you know, here, go. I don't ever think people do their best work in 10 minutes. Even Meryl Streep needs more preparation than 10 minutes. So I don't think that that is as helpful as having an opportunity to pick something and work on it and then show your best foot forward.
Lisa, what do you think of, like, what would you recommend to those Russian actresses and actors who really want to go in Hollywood? Like, does the Hollywood need Russian actors or not?
You know, Hollywood needs everything. So the answer to that question is absolutely. And now that everything's online, there's no reason they should be able to study anywhere in the world. They should be able to submit to anybody in the world now because of this whole new Zoom reality. So I think Russian actresses, once they get their training, get themselves on, you know, get themselves some tape and start looking towards an agent, an international agent, a Los Angeles agent, look at the casting people, etc., and start moving in that direction.
That's all absolutely possible, because that's what I'm saying. Los Angeles is all about talented people, and it's a real opportunity for everyone, because they for real opening talents. That's amazing, and I love that in Los Angeles. Yes,
absolutely. And you know, I want to say that every ethnicity right now is really being looked at, and I think things are being rewritten because they want to include more people. So I think that that's a positive.
yes.
So you tell your Russian actors and actresses, absolutely.
Great, thank you so much for saying that. Lisa, we have 5 more minutes, and it's our tradition to ask you three advices to very beginners, to the actors who are just in the beginning of their way. What is the 3 advices or recommendation you would give?
Okay, the first thing that I would say is, if you can do anything else and be happy, then do it. And if you can't, pursue your dream. If this is what will make you happy, then by all means, pursue it, and pursue it with everything you have. I believe in hard work. I don't believe in luck. I believe if you want it, you can have it. I believe you want to make sure that you are trained so that you're prepared. And when that opportunity comes your way, you will be ready to dive in. So I always say, make the decision. And once you decide, give it everything you have, work as hard as you've ever worked, and get the training you need under your belt so you can pursue it professionally and not just have a pipe dream out in the world. And get with really good people. I think that's, you know, have a mentor, have a teacher, have a group of artists that you can work with, so that, I mean, that's the beauty of being an actor, is that you have this whole community. Find your community, whether it be doing a play, whether it be doing, you know, stuff on Zoom, whether it's television, whether it's film. There's so many areas in which you can look to today where that was never possible. Write your own material. I mean, that's the other thing. You can write your own show, even one episode of something. There's so many possibilities. Never allow the world to limit you. Allow your dreams to make you soar in every direction.
My heart is beating, because everything you just said, that's you taught me how to live life. You taught me how to speak English. You taught me how to feel and how to do my work. Everything I'm doing today, it's your job, and I'm almost in tears because I miss you so much. And everything you just said, I tried in my life to follow all of those recommendations, guys. Just so you know, they work. They work.
And look at you now. You've made me a proud mama.
I'm always remembering each thing you said, and I'm really doing it. Not just like understand it, but I'm doing it. That's exactly what you're saying about.
And it takes
doing.
discipline. It takes discipline, and you have discipline. And that's what I think is a key element. If you ask me, it's not just, do I want it? Am I getting the training? But do I have the discipline to do it?
Yes. Thank you so much, Lisa. And I hope you're going to find time for our second live, because we got so many questions and we're going to go through the questions. And I'll be so happy to see you again. And I'm going to call you and we're going to set up my Zoom, me entering your classes, because I miss it so much and I need it so bad. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mwah. See you very soon.
Okay.